Sigma males don't conform to the typical alpha or beta labels society often uses. They move to their own rhythm and pursue what genuinely resonates with them. These men tend to be introspective, deliberate in their actions, and are naturally drawn to hobbies that offer solitude, personal growth, and mental clarity, far away from noise and distraction. Rather than seeking social validation or following the latest trends, Sigma males choose activities that stimulate their minds and align with their independent nature. They value depth over popularity, and intentionality over hype. For them, free time is sacred, something to be spent wisely, not wasted in meaningless distraction. Here are 10 hobbies that align perfectly with the Sigma male mindset, each one reflecting their quiet strength, self-reliance, and deep inner drive. Number 1. Crafting and producing music, the Sigma's sonic sanctuary. For the Sigma male, music creation represents far more than artistic expression. It's a sacred dialogue between his internal world and the universal language of sound. Unlike extroverted personalities who use conversation as their primary means of connection, Sigmas find conventional verbal communication often fails to capture the depth and complexity of their inner experience. Music becomes their fluent second tongue, one that bypasses the limitations of vocabulary to convey emotional truths that would otherwise remain imprisoned in silence. The recording studio or home production setup functions as both laboratory and confessional, a private space where raw emotion undergoes alchemical transformation into structured art. Sigma males exhibit an almost surgical precision in their approach, obsessing over minute details, the perfect reverb tail on a snare drum, the exact frequency balance that makes a synth pad breathe, the subtle automation curve that gives a vocal track its haunting intimacy. This painstaking refinement process satisfies their dual need for technical mastery and emotional authenticity. What makes music production particularly resonant for Sigmas is its unique combination of left brain and right brain engagement. The mathematical precision of rhythm theory and harmonic structure provides intellectual scaffolding, while the improvisational nature of composition allows for spontaneous emotional revelation. In the solitude of the creative process, they experience a paradox. The more they lose themselves in the work, the more clearly they find themselves. Each completed track serves as both time capsule and mirror, preserving a specific emotional state while revealing previously hidden aspects of their psyche. The Sigma's musical journey follows an unconventional trajectory. Where mainstream artists chase popularity and external validation, the Sigma producer measures success by an internal barometer. Did the finished work meet his exacting standards? Did it truthfully represent what needed to be expressed? This uncompromising approach often leads to the development of highly distinctive styles, as the Sigma's music becomes increasingly refined to his idiosyncratic sensibilities rather than commercial trends. Number 2. Deep research and independent study, the Sigma's intellectual odyssey. The Sigma male's approach to knowledge acquisition resembles a medieval scholar more than a modern student. He doesn't consume information, he hunts it. His research sessions aren't casual browsing but immersive expeditions into the uncharted territories of human understanding. While most people treat learning as a means to an end, career advancement, social currency, the Sigma pursues knowledge as an end in itself, deriving profound satisfaction from the act of mental excavation. His methodology reveals telltale Sigma characteristics. He'll disappear for days down academic rabbit holes, emerging with meticulously organized notes connecting seemingly disparate concepts. He prefers primary sources to popular summaries, valuing the unmediated encounter with raw data over predigested interpretations. His personal library, whether physical or digital, reflects this curatorial instinct, containing obscure texts and annotated PDFs arranged according to some complex internal taxonomy only he fully understands. This intellectual independence serves multiple psychological functions. First, it satisfies the Sigma's deep-seated need for cognitive autonomy, the freedom to form conclusions without the distorting lens of consensus reality. Second, it provides an endless source of private stimulation, ensuring he's never dependent on external entertainment. Third, it builds an impregnable mental fortress. The Sigma who has spent years cultivating expertise across multiple disciplines develops an unshakable confidence in his ability to understand any system or solve any problem through focused study. The subjects that captivate Sigmas often share certain qualities: complexity that rewards sustained attention, practical applications for self-sufficiency, and enough obscurity to avoid mainstream distortion. You'll find Sigmas mastering dead languages, reverse engineering obsolete technologies, or compiling exhaustive databases on niche historical periods, not for show-off, but because the act of mastery itself brings profound fulfillment. In an age of shallow clickbait and viral misinformation, the Sigma's research habits represent a radical act of intellectual integrity, a stubborn insistence on doing the hard work of true understanding. What makes this hobby particularly Sigma is its self-contained nature. The pleasure comes not from sharing findings, though he may selectively do so, but from the private epiphanies achieved along the way. Each research project becomes a mirror reflecting the Sigma's evolving mind, a record of his capacity for focus, discernment, and original synthesis that no diploma or certification could ever adequately represent. Number 3, martial arts and tactical self-defense, the Sigma's path to sovereign strength. For the Sigma male, martial arts represent far more than physical conditioning. They form a complete philosophy of movement, awareness, and personal sovereignty. The dojo becomes a sacred space where every training session serves as a microcosm of life's larger challenges. What draws Sigmas to these ancient disciplines isn't the Hollywood fantasy of brute dominance, but rather the intricate interplay of physics, psychology, and spiritual discipline that authentic combat systems demand. Each session methodically strips away illusion, confronting practitioners with undeniable truths about their current capabilities while mapping clear pathways for growth. The Sigma's training regimen reveals his characteristic approach to mastery. He favors disciplines with deep technical systems, Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu's chess-like ground game, the precise biomechanics of Wing Chun, or the ruthless efficiency of Krav Maga, where subtle adjustments in leverage and timing yield disproportionate results. His progress follows a distinctive pattern: obsessive focus on fundamentals, deliberate avoidance of flashy techniques, and quiet accumulation of practical competence. While others chase belts and accolades, the Sigma measures his development through more meaningful metrics: the instinctive parry of an unexpected strike, the effortless transition between techniques, or more tellingly, the decreasing need to prove himself in sparring sessions. What makes martial arts particularly resonant for Sigmas is the uncompromising honesty of physical confrontation. Unlike social interactions where posturing and deception often prevail, combat sports provide immediate, unambiguous feedback. A poorly executed technique either fails or gets countered. Superior skill can't be faked. This reality-based meritocracy appeals deeply to the Sigma's truth-seeking nature. The training floor becomes one of the few environments where he can engage fully without his usual guardedness, precisely because the rules are clear, the outcomes are tangible, and the hierarchy is based purely on demonstrated ability. Beyond physical prowess, martial arts cultivate the Sigma's most prized mental attributes. The controlled stress of sparring sessions trains his nervous system to maintain clarity under pressure, a skill that transfers seamlessly to high-stakes professional and personal situations. The repetitive drilling of techniques builds neural pathways that operate below conscious thought, creating what practitioners call muscle memory, but what Sigmas recognize as embodied wisdom. Most importantly, the discipline instills a quiet confidence that eliminates the need for external validation. The Sigma knows exactly what he's capable of because he's tested it under resistance, not because someone awarded him a certificate. Number 4, solo drives for mental clarity, the Sigma's mobile meditation. The Sigma male's relationship with driving transcends mere transportation. It becomes a moving meditation, a dynamic sanctuary where the rhythm of the road synchronizes with his internal processes. Unlike commuters who view driving as wasted time to be filled with podcasts or phone calls, the Sigma deliberately preserves these solo journeys as sacred intervals for cognitive recalibration. The automobile transforms into a sensory deprivation tank in motion, where the predictable vibrations of the engine and the hypnotic flow of passing landscapes induce a state of heightened mental clarity. These excursions follow distinct patterns that reveal their psychological purpose. The Sigma instinctively selects routes that minimize interruptions: winding country roads with sparse traffic, industrial zones after business hours, or highway stretches during the pre-dawn lull. He develops an almost ritualistic approach to the experience: precise adjustments to seat position and mirrors, deliberate selection of atmospheric lighting, and careful curation of accompanying music, or purposeful silence, to match his mental objectives. The vehicle itself often reflects his personality, not through flashy modifications meant to impress others, but through subtle, functional enhancements that improve the driving experience for its sole important occupant. The psychological benefits of these solitary drives operate on multiple levels. At the most basic, the act of piloting a machine demands just enough attention to prevent obsessive rumination, while leaving ample cognitive bandwidth for productive reflection. The Sigma finds that solutions to stubborn problems often emerge spontaneously during these journeys, as if the forward motion of the vehicle somehow unsticks mental logjams. On a deeper level, the enclosed cabin creates a rare space of complete autonomy, a temporary kingdom where he controls every variable, from climate to auditory environment to direction of travel. This temporary sovereignty provides essential respite from a world that constantly demands compromise and accommodation. What makes this practice distinctly Sigma is its intentionality. These aren't aimless joyrides, but carefully engineered psychological maintenance sessions. The Sigma knows exactly which mental states different driving conditions induce: the creative spark that comes with urban night driving, the philosophical clarity of rural highway cruising, or the cathartic release of aggressive acceleration on empty stretches. Over time, he develops an intuitive understanding of which driving mode corresponds to which cognitive need, using the vehicle as both escape pod and thinking chamber. In an era of constant connectivity, these mobile sanctuaries become increasingly vital, the last remaining spaces where a man can truly be alone with his thoughts while in motion through the world. Number 5. Solo Endurance Challenges, the Sigma's crucible of self-discovery. For the Sigma male, endurance sports represent far more than physical conditioning. They form a sacred ritual of self-confrontation and transcendence. When the Sigma laces up his running shoes at 4:30 a.m. or embarks on a 100-mile bike ride through backcountry roads, he's not merely exercising his body but engaging in an ancient dialogue between willpower and limitation. These solitary endurance challenges become moving meditations where each labored breath and burning muscle fiber serves as a mirror reflecting his current boundaries, and the path to surpassing them. Unlike competitive athletes who measure success through rankings and finish times, the Sigma's true opponent exists within: the voice that whispers excuses, the impulse to quit when discomfort arises, the temptation to compromise his standards. The Sigma approaches endurance training with a distinctive methodology that reveals his core psychology. He meticulously tracks biometric data not for social media show-off, but to establish precise baselines for self-improvement. His training logs resemble scientific journals, documenting everything from heart rate variability to perceived exertion levels, creating an objective record of his evolving capabilities. The routes he chooses, whether grueling mountain trails or endless laps around a deserted track, are carefully selected to eliminate variables and distractions, ensuring each session becomes a pure test of mental fortitude. What might appear as monotony to outsiders represents to the Sigma a controlled laboratory for self-mastery, where he can isolate specific physical and psychological variables for improvement. The psychological alchemy that occurs during these endurance challenges explains their powerful appeal. As the body approaches its limits, the mind enters a hyper-aware state where trivial concerns dissolve and essential truths emerge. The Sigma discovers that fatigue strips away pretense, revealing his fundamental character in its rawest form. In these vulnerable moments, perhaps during the final miles of a marathon when every step requires conscious will, he gains access to reservoirs of resilience unavailable in ordinary consciousness. This explains why Sigmas often describe their most difficult endurance challenges as spiritual experiences that permanently alter their self-concept. The knowledge that he can endure physical suffering by choice rather than necessity instills an unshakable confidence that permeates all areas of his life. Number 6. Digital Creation and Technical Mastery, the Sigma's Intellectual Workshop. The Sigma male's affinity for technical pursuits stems from their unique fusion of creativity and logic, a rare intersection where imagination meets executable reality. When the Sigma disappears into his home lab for a 36-hour coding marathon or obsessively tweaks his custom-built computer architecture, he's not merely solving technical problems but engaging in a profound dialogue with systems thinking. Digital creation offers the ultimate sandbox for his restless intellect, an infinite realm where abstract concepts can be materialized through lines of code, circuit designs, or algorithmic structures. Unlike artistic mediums that rely on subjective interpretation, technical projects provide immediate, objective feedback. The program either runs or fails, the hardware either functions or requires debugging. This binary accountability resonates deeply with the Sigma's truth-seeking nature. His approach to technical mastery reveals characteristic Sigma traits. He favors open-source platforms and modular systems that allow complete control rather than locked proprietary ecosystems. His workspaces, whether a home server rack or a customized development environment, reflect meticulous organization optimized for efficiency rather than aesthetics. Learning occurs through deliberate practice rather than formal education. The Sigma would rather decompile software to understand its architecture than sit through beginner tutorials. This autodidactic approach allows him to develop highly individualized problem-solving frameworks that often yield innovative solutions mainstream technicians overlook. The satisfaction comes not from peer recognition, though his skills may command it, but from the private thrill of bending technology to his will through pure intellect. What makes technical hobbies particularly compelling for Sigmas is their limitless scalability. A coding project can begin as a simple automation script and evolve into a full-stack application that solves real-world problems. A hardware tinkering session might spark an invention that disrupts conventional thinking. This potential for exponential growth mirrors the Sigma's own intellectual trajectory. Each mastered concept becomes a building block for more complex understandings. The digital realm also provides an ideal outlet for the Sigma's need for unconstrained creation. Unlike physical crafts limited by material costs, software and system design are bounded only by imagination and skill. In an increasingly digital world, these self-taught technical competencies give the Sigma something more valuable than social approval: genuine independence and the ability to shape his environment through pure cognitive labor. Number 7. Exploring wilderness and outdoor solitude, the Sigma's primitive reset. For the Sigma male, wilderness exploration represents far more than recreation. It's a fundamental recalibration of mind and spirit. When he shoulders his pack and disappears into the backcountry, he's not merely going for a hike but engaging in an ancient ritual of self-renewal. The wilderness serves as the ultimate decompression chamber, where the artificial pressures of modern society, social expectations, digital noise, performative interactions, fade into irrelevance against the timeless rhythms of nature. Sigma males are drawn to environments that demand complete presence. Navigating treacherous ridgelines requires absolute focus on each footfall, while setting up camp in bare country sharpens senses dulled by urban complacency. These challenges create a cognitive reset that's impossible to achieve in civilized settings, forcing the Sigma into a state of pure, unmediated existence where his survival depends entirely on his own competence and judgment. The Sigma's approach to wilderness travel reveals his philosophical orientation toward self-sufficiency. He favors minimalist gear that maximizes independence, ultralight equipment he can repair himself, navigation tools that don't rely on satellites, and provisions that balance nutrition with practicality. His routes are carefully plotted to avoid crowded trails and tourist hotspots, seeking instead those interstitial spaces where human presence fades to near zero. What might appear as hardship to others, sleeping in rocky hollows, filtering water from alpine streams, enduring sudden storms with only a tarp for shelter, the Sigma experiences as purification rituals. Each successful wilderness excursion reinforces his core identity as someone capable of thriving without societal infrastructure, a realization that carries profound psychological benefits when he returns to civilization. The wilderness also provides the Sigma with something increasingly rare in the modern world: authentic solitude. Unlike the loneliness of urban isolation, this is a rich, nourishing solitude filled with natural wonders that demand nothing from him but respectful observation. Number 8. Gardening and landscaping, the Sigma's living canvas. The Sigma male's garden is more than a collection of plants, it's a philosophical statement rendered in living materials. What appears at first glance as simple horticulture reveals itself upon closer inspection as a complex dialogue between control and surrender, planning and adaptation, intention and organic growth. The Sigma approaches his garden with the strategic mind of a general and the patience of a sage, understanding that true mastery lies not in domination of nature but in harmonious collaboration with it. He selects plants not for their showy blooms or popular appeal, but for their inherent qualities, drought resistance, nutritional value, or ecosystem benefits, revealing his preference for substance over superficial beauty. His garden layout follows meticulous designs that account for microclimates, succession planting, and decades-long growth patterns, demonstrating his characteristically long-term perspective. This hands-in-the-earth work provides multiple layers of psychological nourishment for the Sigma. The daily rituals, checking soil moisture, pruning wayward growth, observing pest patterns, create a meditative rhythm that grounds him in tangible reality. Unlike abstract professional work where results may take months to materialize, gardening offers immediate, tactile feedback. A well-timed pruning produces visible growth within days, while neglected plants provide unambiguous signals of distress. The garden becomes a living laboratory where the Sigma can experiment with ecological principles, testing how companion planting affects yield or how soil amendments transform plant vitality. These small, controlled experiments satisfy his analytical mind while keeping him connected to fundamental life processes that urban existence often obscures. What makes gardening particularly resonant for Sigmas is its perfect balance of control and unpredictability. He can plan the perfect raised bed with ideal sun exposure and soil composition, yet still face unexpected challenges from weather or pests, demanding both his preparedness and adaptability. This dynamic mirrors life's larger challenges, making the garden a microcosm for developing resilience. The quiet hours spent weeding or harvesting become moving meditations, offering the Sigma precious mental space to process complex thoughts while his hands engage in rhythmic work. Ultimately, the Sigma's garden stands as a quiet testament to his values, that meaningful creation requires patience, that true growth happens gradually, and that the most satisfying rewards are those cultivated through consistent care rather than instant gratification. Number 9. Mastering strategy games or chess. While most people play games to kill time or escape reality, Sigma males see them as something more, mental training grounds. Casual games may offer quick fun, but Sigma men are drawn to games that sharpen the mind. Think chess, tactical board games, or complex video games that demand long-term strategy, foresight, and deep analysis. These aren't just pastimes, they're brain workouts. Each move is an opportunity to develop critical thinking, refine pattern recognition, and improve decision-making under pressure. Unlike others who play to win or show off, Sigmas are more interested in testing their own limits. They're not trying to beat the opponent as much as they're trying to outgrow the man they were yesterday. Strategy games offer a safe environment to experiment, fail, adapt, and evolve, without real-world consequences. Over time, the habits they build in-game, patience, discipline, and calculated risk, carry over into everyday life. That's the true reward. Number 10. Exploring new technology and gadgets. While others are still catching up with last year's tech, Sigma males are already diving into the next wave of innovation. They don't chase trends for attention. They explore new tools out of pure curiosity and a hunger to understand how things work beneath the surface. For Sigma men, technology isn't about showing off, it's about problem solving. They'll spend hours learning new software, experimenting with automation, or building systems that optimize their routines. The discovery process, the figuring it out phase, is often more exciting than the end result. It's like unlocking a new layer of freedom with every breakthrough. They don't wait for tutorials or call for help. They dissect, test, and explore until they master it themselves. Every device, every app, every tool they add to their arsenal increases their independence, and that's what fuels them. If these ideas hit home, make sure to subscribe for more Sigma-centered insights. Smash that like button, and drop your thoughts in the comments. I'd love to hear what hobby resonates most with you. And as always, stay sharp, stay grounded, and keep evolving.